Hi, America. It's Tim from America the Conversation, and welcome to this bonus episode. What you're about to hear is a conversation between me and Andrew about how we got into politics. Part 1 is Andrew, Part 2 is me, and there is a full episode for you to listen to as well. Enjoy. So what got you into politics? You were telling me right before we started that you can't imagine it yourself not being into politics. Like, has it been like part of your upbringing kind of a thing?
Yeah, I had two very political parents on both sides of the aisle, far right and pretty center left, far left, for her time. Probably center left today. I was always pushed.
Your mom?
Yeah. And my dad is a far right cop, and just the worst kind of one. But yeah, I mean, I was raised, I think, to be something that I didn't turn out to be, which was, a politician. I was raised to be a lawyer or somebody who was representing the family and the family name by my dad as somebody. And that's when I was always reading about history and politics throughout the world. And, was regularly encouraged to read the paper by my mom, my dad, my grandmother on my dad's side, who was brilliant. My dad's mom was a brilliant woman, knew 6 different languages, was very well traveled. So like there was definitely a familial, like, you need to be involved in this from both sides of the aisle.
Right. Civic duty kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's your, whether it's
patriotism, maybe,
whether
like,
it's your responsibility. I think that, like, from my mom's angle, it's your responsibility as a good citizen, and from my dad's angle, it was your responsibility as a Turner to represent the family.
Oh, okay. But not like as an American.
No, he doesn't
kind of
give a shit. I mean, like, he would lie and say that he gave a shit, sure, about that. But I mean, like, his motivations in the end were familial. Like, he could have been American or Roman 2,000 years ago, and he would have been the same man. It was
right.
Yeah, he wanted us in the Senate. You know what I mean? He wanted me and my brother, one of us to be a warrior and one of us to be a poet politician. Like, that was something he talked about regularly. And like, I remember getting punished at like 8 and 9 years old by having to read like Sun Tzu, or like, because eventually I remember getting punished having to read Bible verses, and eventually I started asking questions and like pointing out contradictions, and my dad was like, well, no more reading the Bible, and like started handing me everything from the Odyssey to, like I said, Sun Tzu's Art of War, to the habits of Machiavelli, the Prince, 5 effective habits for highly effective people, like all that kind of shit.
Oh yeah. Got that book.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And so politics and history in general, the humanities, like culture, anthropology, have always been really big to me. And like, my mother was always very pro-choice, and that was her main issue that she worked on her whole life. The first time that I went to a rally or a protest when I was 19 was in Austin for abortion rights.
Oh, cool.
I started off pretty conservative and libertarian as a kid. I was a white man in Texas. And slowly, as I got to be about 17, 18, 19, and my worldview expanded, and I met new people and listened to people that weren't in my echo chamber, I slowly went from conservative libertarian, and then libertarian to liberal, and then liberal to leftist. And now I'm an American socialist, like, straight up. Right. So, I mean, I think I've always cared about politics because I've always been of the mentality, which is instilled in me by both my parents, for better or worse. If you might not care about politics, but your landlord does, your boss does, your preacher does, your rabbi does, your imam does, like you're the company that your boss works for cares about politics, like people. And if you don't care about politics, it's a source of privilege that you don't care about changing the status quo. Yeah. Agreed. And I think that was a second part that I picked up later on in my life, after my childhood, early in my adulthood, that I realized that it's not just about my personal freedoms and rights. It's about other people that aren't living the same lifestyle as me. And I mean, also a lot of the shiny illusion of America being this city on a shining hill, being perfect, and and a meritocracy quickly was dispelled in my 20s. I was like, wait, some of the hardest working and best people I know have some of the worst jobs and the worst lives I've ever seen. Yeah. I mean, like, I think that I got involved in politics, and I started because politics is just a word for how we're working as a group. whether that be at the city level, at the school board level, at the state level, at the federal level, at the international level. I mean, I've always been interested in humans and stories and how what makes us different than any other animal, what makes us unique. I would argue that it is stories and ideas that aren't real in an uncaring universe, fairy tales like justice and humanity and sacrifice and love, things that are not measurable by math, but because we're humans and we've come up with them as concepts, we enact them and make them real in the world. And I think that politics is just the organization of that idea. So I've always been interested in how
that's amazing.
humans, run the world, and that is politics. And slowly but surely I came to realize that existing power structures are the same existing power structures they were 30, 50, 100, 200, 500, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 years ago. And that's the fact that there are people who have a lot because they were lucky and they were born into the right birth lottery, or they were born with the right genetics, or they were born with the right chances. And now they're the rice king. They have all the rice and we got to work for them because they own the rice fields. And it's the exact same thing it was 4,000 years ago. And I think that instead we should all stand up and go, maybe we should all own the rice fields, because the idea that you work more than a feudal peasant these days, like the average American does.
Yeah.
Like you work more than a feudal peasant. And
they had like 4 months of vacation or something like that, because the king's like, they're going to revolt if I don't give them a break.
Well, I mean, like once you did your crop, you were done, right? Like you got your taxes paid. Like you got enough food for you and your family. You're done. The rest of your year's up to you.
Yeah.
Like you're good. I mean, there's a lot less free time for the average American now than there is for former feudal peasants in a lot of countries throughout history. Yeah. And I think that what we should come to is a world that through technology and unionization of the workforce, jobs do become much easier and people need to work a lot less in order for society to function. And we use a lot less resources, and we do eat and shop local, and we take care of everyone's health care, and thus that saves us money because people aren't as hurt and ill as often. We make sure that everyone's educated, which means that we have more people inventing and innovating things. We make sure that everyone is taken care of and has a home because we have more people now producing in the workforce and working together. I mean, I think that the more we take care, there's an exponential benefit, right? Like even if you're a greedy, selfish person, I think what politics has taught me is that there is an exponential benefit to making things better for the rest of humanity, for humanity.
Yeah.
Things will be better for you in your lifetime, and exponentially better lifetimes down the road if we work harder to solve some of these systematic injustices. And that includes racism, that includes the patriarchy, that includes colonialism, that includes wealth inequality in general. I mean, like these are real foundational issues that have been here since humanity started organizing in cities. And I think that we have gotten better and better about fixing them, especially in the last 200 to 300 years. But that being said, we have to continue to get better. And I think we are within grasp of the next 2 or 3 generations where people don't have to work anymore, where working is something you choose to do as extra money. Yeah. And to, or, get to the Star Trek point of the accumulation of wealth is no longer how we measure our aptitude. Like, at this point, like you're
love that episode.
Like you're competing to like be on Starfleet or do the best thing in the city that you live in, or be the best farmer. You're competing in a sense of competition for the betterment of everyone, not for a number at the end of the line that says you get to buy whatever you want. Like, and I'm not for the abandonment of a free market by any means. Neither is socialism or communism, by the way, but I think people will
common misconception.
Yeah, I think that we will definitely still exchange goods and services, probably for a dollar amount, of some sort of fiat currency. But I think that the idea that everyone has to work to survive is quickly at this point approaching futility. I think that we will get to a point where everyone in the world should be able to have healthcare, housing, food, and water, and good healthcare, housing, food, and water, and not have to work at all. Now, I think most people will still work. I can tell you this, the pandemic proved to me, as lazy as I thought I would wind up working on something, whether that's artistic or working for somebody else. Like, I can't sit here all day and go crazy in my room. Like, I did it for a year. And Like that, the idea that people are lazy,
Yeah,
I think,
dude.
is a
Oh my
capitalist myth. I think that the vast majority, 99.99999% of people are going to still work even if they didn't have
Yeah,
to.
there's a lazy piece of shit out there somewhere, but it's nowhere near the majority. Like it's like maybe 5 guys in their burgers and fries.
And power to them.
Like,
If they really want to live off the rest of us working, if even 1% of our society really wants to live off the rest of us working, like while the rest of us
they're gonna be pariahs. No one's gonna like them.
No one's gonna hang out with you. And by the way, even if they do, you know what? Fine, that's cool. I don't give a shit. Like you can, like, it's just like I don't give a shit about somebody like bumming around until they affect my life, bumming a cigarette or bumming a couch for a night. Like, it's like, if they really want to do that, we should still take care of them because they're human beings. And then,
exactly.
By the way, I think the vast majority of people, like I said just now, and like you're reiterating, like the vast majority of people are going to want to work. They're going to want to work on something. The profit motive doesn't have to be the only thing. And we can certainly provide all, like, people don't have to bargain their Maslow's hierarchy in order to produce their labor, right? Like we could make everybody be educated, healthy, well-fed, and have housing, and people would still go find jobs in all the companies and businesses and industries we have now, because they would go, you know what, I want a Corvette, you know, I want a boat, I want to buy more D&D dice. I'm a dice goblin, and I only have 600 sets of dice, and this one has a rose in it, a real live miniature rose in it, and it cost me $284, and I want it. So even if I had my apartment and my rent and my food and everything else taken care of, I'd be like, gotta go work 6 hours today because I gotta buy me some rose dice.
Shit. Oh well, so, at least I'm working 6 hours and everything's paid for, and I'm not going to die, and I'm not going to starve, and I'm not going to freeze, and I'm not going to overheat, and my family, same thing, friends, same thing. Oh wait, there's no more pollution.
And I think that the reason I got into politics was to make things better for other people, right? And the truth that I've learned of the past 25 years of from being an Occupy to marching to changing my party affiliation to changing it again to independent to working with multiple campaigns, left and center. What I can tell you is that I've learned that before us, the divine right of kings was something that everyone thought was permanent. That was how we ran our society in this feudal way. And it too disappeared.
Truth.
And capitalism will do the same. And that is the defining moment of our era, right? Either we will kill ourselves off through nuclear war or climate change because we refused to do anything but worry about the next quarter's profits, or we will unite together to the very wealthy, to the 1% that own our lives, and make it where all of us have worse lives and are unhealthy and work into retirement and have no retirement left. We can stand up to those people and demand a world where we have more say and control over it. And if we do that, it will be a better world. It will be a kinder world. It will be a world where a lot of the fears that I think a lot of these capitalists say will never come to be, but we have to actually try. And like I said in a few podcasts earlier that we recorded today, it ain't going to be a hero that comes along and does it. It's not going to be Andrew. It's not going to be Tim. It's not going to be Bernie. It's not going to be Lizzie Warren. It's not going to be any one person. It is going to be through collective action from the bottom up. People knocking on doors, people having conversations, people changing. The fact that Obama legalized gay marriage and the Supreme Court legalized gay marriage, and then now the Democrats have affirmed it, is because of a cultural change that Tim and I and probably a lot of you watched happen. It wasn't because one single politician stood up.
Push.
It was that Will and Grace was on TV. It was that people were able to come out without worrying about getting killed by their family. Yeah. It was that all of us learned to not call people gay as a prerogative, not say the F-bomb. Because a cultural shift happened as me and Tim were children into our adulthood. And it wasn't a single politician that did it. Yeah. It wasn't a single politician.
We were the end and the beginning of this shift. Like we
the digital age,
used slurs, and then are the same generation that said, "Hey, everybody that said this like us and did it before us," because it was just a normal thing to f-bomb, people like Eminem, case in point, And we're like, hey, we're not doing this anymore. And if it's in anything, we just invented a new thing called canceling. So we're going to do that.
Well, I think there's no coincidence that millennials are the first generation that started to veer left from the political ideology.
Absolutely.
And is also the first generation that started going to fucking therapy. I think
Truth.
I think
Amen.
all three of those things align, right? Like the cultural shift, the political shift, and the personal work shift is all stuff that has happened in our generation for the first time. And Gen Z will outdo us by measures and bounds, I have no doubt. But Gen X is like the worst, and boomers don't even realize what's going on. So I mean, like that all being said, I think that all change comes from the ground up. And I want to be part of that change. I don't need to be a leader or a figurehead of it, especially now in my life when I realize that figureheads are just that. I just want to be a part of it. And that's what got me into politics, is I want to make things better for other people. And the workers of the world should unite. One day communism will win.
America the Conversation is a production of America the Podcast and Shui Media. The show is created, produced, and hosted by Andrew Turner and Tim Philippi. The show is mixed and edited by Tim Philippi at Shui Media Studios in Austin, Texas. Music for America the Conversation was created by Timmy Two Step. For more, please visit americatheconversation.com.